According to Ann Friedman in Case Study 9, named The Danger of Unidentified Bias, journalists are responsible for overcoming the blind spots that result from their own biases and for hiring diverse thinkers. From cases like these, it appears both of these primary responsibilities have been ignored. As our world grows to be more and more diverse, it is ideal to many people that diverse groups be represented in the media. Many people look to journalists to seek this representation, being that they are the roots of news organizations. In 2008 and 2011, the New York Times published feature stories about beginning bloggers that were coming up in the journalism world in Washington, D.C. The two journalists who wrote these stories raved at the achievements of the bloggers, claiming them to be some of the most prestigious and talented new journalists of their time. Nicknamed the Juice Box Mafia, this group of young journalists were much respected by the power elite, according to an article in the New York Times written by Sridhar Pappu in 2011. As a future journalist, it is refreshing to see young talent get recognized, but my concern is the diversity of the talent that is recognized. If the media only chooses to give credit to and publish the achievements of a specific group of people, diversity is no longer a factor. In this case, the bloggers represented were only white men, and only one feature story included a woman blogger. The Juice Box Mafia is an example of diversity not being represented in journalism over and over again. If news we receive is only delivered by a limited group of people, the content it contains is limited as well. The narrow group of reporters isn't the only factor that results in the lack of diversity when it comes to reporting. Many stories that are published once are published a second and third time, just told in a different way by a different reporter, and once again, limiting the information the audience is consuming. As digital media is on the rise, it has increased many advantages in many different areas, specifically for journalists and audience-generated content. Although we would like to think it creates more opportunities for diversity to spread, that unfortunately is not the case. In fact, it often leads back to the lack of diversity because of the people and material a person chooses to engage with. Social media is a large contributor to the lack of diversity that exists in the media world. People who utilize social networks are usually using it for business or personal use. In result, they are going to follow and interact with those who share similar interests or beliefs. This leads to the narrow-mindedness of society, or in other words, the lack of diversity, reinforcing the same ideas. This case is a prime example of why I believe the lack of diversity in sources and information is unethical. As a society, we are not only misled and misinformed when it comes to news, but we are often left in the dark about many issues. We have no media literacy because we fail to question those who provide us with news. We do not question those who provide us with news because we automatically believe them to be truthful, accurate, and informing. The problem with this is that these news sources we rely on are not filled with diverse thinkers and issues to begin with. With that being said, the information we receive is limited. According to the Atlantic Times, fewer minorities are getting the opportunity to work in news, and news organizations are losing their ability to empower, represent, and, especially in cases where language ability is crucial, even to report on minority populations in their communities. It is often said that journalism is a liberal industry, filled with people who have a passion for reporting the truth and keeping people informed about what is important in an unbiased manner. If this is true, then the first step to delivering unbiased information would be to report diverse information. Unfortunately, that is not happening as often as it should as long as we continue to limit information to consumers. The evolution of the Juice Box Mafia was not only an example of the lack of diversity, but showed an evident problem with the repetition of limited information spread worldwide over and over again. The lack of women and minorities in these stories made it easy for the follow-up stories to report almost the same exact thing. Therefore, the lack of diversity is like a wildfire among the journalism industry. We have a reputation for blaming social media for many of the ignorance that takes place in society, but in this case, it does not start with social media, it starts with the journalists. If we start by creating diversity in the newsroom, we will deliver it to the public, and the public will deliver diversity among themselves and to the rest of the world.